Hi everyone, and welcome back to Story Time. Tonight I'm going to read one of my favorite books, and hopefully one of yours, from way back when. We're going to read Goodnight Moon. I try to do this once a month for the little ones especially who really love it, or for those of you who read this to your children and maybe be reading it now to your grandchildren. So, if you know the poem, I hope you will be reading it or quoting it with me. And like I like to say, gather your children, gather your blankets and your bears too, and let us all settle down because I have a story to read to you. So let's read Goodnight Moon. And it's written by Margaret Wise Brown. And if you remember last week, I read a book called The Golden Egg Book. And she also wrote that book. In the great green room, there was a telephone and a red balloon and a picture of the cow jumping over the moon. And there were 3 little bears sitting on chairs. And there were 2 little kittens and a pair of mittens and a tiny little toy house and a young mouse and a comb and a brush and a bowl full of mush and a quiet old lady whispering hush. Good night, room. Good night, moon. Good night, cow jumping over the moon. Good night, light and the red balloon. Good night, bears. Good night, chairs. Good night, kittens. And good night, mittens. Good night, clocks. And good night, socks. Do you sleep in your socks? I sleep in socks. Good night, little house. And good night, mouse. Good night, comb. And good night, brush. Good night, nobody. Good night, mush. And good night to the little old lady whispering hush. Good night, stars. Good night, air. Good night, noises everywhere. The end. I hope you enjoyed Goodnight Moon. I hope that you will come back and hear the next story. Until then, good night, everybody.